What if everything we know about origins of civilization is wrong? For more than a century, historians believed they understood how civilization began. First came agriculture, then permanent settlements, then cities, religion, monuments, and organized society. It was a neat story, a logical story, and it was completely challenged by the discovery hidden beneath a lonely hill in a modern day Turkey. Our discovery is so shocking that archaeologists are still debating its implications decades later. Because buried under that hill was a structure older than the Stonehenge, older than the Egyptian pyramids, older than the writing itself. Its name is Göbekli Tepe, and according to everything experts thought they knew it should not exist. Imagine being transported back 12,000 years. The last ice age has recently ended. Mammoths still roam part of Earth. Human beings have no metal tools, no wheels, no writing, and no cities. Most people survived by hunting animals and gathering wild plants. These are not the people history books described as a master builders. Yet somehow these some people created one of most astonishing monuments ever discovered. When archaeologists first began excavating Göbekli Tepe, they expected to find the remains of simple prehistoric settlement. Instead, they uncovered enormous stone pillars rising from the earth. Some weighed up to 20 tons. Many were covered with detailed carving of animals, symbols, and mysterious figures. The deeper researchers dug, the stranger the sight became. Who built this place? How did they build it? And perhaps most importantly, why? To understand why Göbekli Tepe changed history, we need to understand the world before its discovery. For decades, the standard model of human development seemed straightforward. People lived as hunter gatherers for thousands of years. Eventually, they discovered agriculture. Farming created food surpluses. Food surpluses allowed large populations, and larger populations leads to villages, cities, government, and eventually civilization. Religion and monumental architecture were considered product of these advanced societies. After all, building giant temples requires workers, and workers need food. Food requires farming. At least that was the assumption. Then Göbekli Tepe appeared and shattered the entire sequence. The site is located in southeastern Turkey on a ridge overlooking the surrounding landscape. To the casual observer, it looks like an ordinary hill. For centuries, nobody suspected what lay beneath. Local farmers occasionally found strange stones while working the land, but few paid much attention. Everything changed in 1990s when German archaeologist Klaus Schmitz visited the site. Almost immediately he realized something was unusual. The stones scattered across the hill were not natural formation. They were intentionally shaped, human made, ancient, very ancient. Excavations soon revealed massive circular enclosures built from carefully arranged limestone pillars. At center of each enclosure stood two gigantic T-shaped monoliths. The structure were unlike anything archaeologists had seen before. Then came the radiocarbon dating results. The oldest layers dated back to around 9600 BCE. Researchers were stunned. This pushed the site thousands of years further into the past than anyone expected. To put that in perspective, Göbekli Tepe was already ancient when Stonehenge was built. It was ancient when the first Egyptian pyramid rose above the desert. It belongs to the period so distant that humanity had not yet invented pottery. Yet here stood evidence of complex planning, engineering, artistry, and organization. The implications were enormous. Building Göbekli would have required hundreds of people working together. The stone pillars had to be quarried, carved, transported, and erected. Without cranes, without metal tools, and without domesticated animals, without wheels, this raises an uncomfortable question. If hunter gatherers were capable of organizing projects on this scale, how many assumptions about prehistory are wrong? The mystery deepens when examining the carving. Snakes slither across stone surfaces, foxes run along pillar edges, birds spread their wings, scorpions, wild boars, lion, and other animals appear throughout the site. These carvings are not crude scratches. They displayed remarkable skill and precision. The builders clearly possessed advanced artistic abilities, but what did the symbols mean? Some researchers believe they represented spiritual forces, and others think they may have been clan, emblems, or mythological beings. A few scholars have suggested they preserve fragments of stories lost to the time. Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. The people who built Göbekli were thinking about more than a survival. They were creating meaning, they were expressing the idea, and they were participating in a sophisticated symbolic culture. And that realization may be the most important discovery of all. Perhaps the greatest debate surrounding Göbekli concern its purpose. Many researchers describe it as the world's oldest known temple complex. If true, the implications are revolutionary because it suggests that large scale religious activity existed before agriculture became widespread. Think about that for a moment. For generations, historians assumed civilizations created religion, and Göbekli suggests the opposite might be true. Perhaps religion helped create civilization. Imagine a small group of hunter gatherers spread across the region. At a certain time of year, they gather at a sacred location. They participate in ceremonies. They share beliefs. They exchange knowledge. And they cooperate on a massive construction project. As these gatherings grow larger, feeding everyone became increasingly difficult, and people began managing wild plants more carefully. Eventually, cultivation develops into agriculture, and under this theory, spiritual cooperation becomes one of the driving forces behind the birth of civilization itself. It's a bold idea, but Göbekli Tepe forces us to consider it seriously. The site contains another mystery that continues to puzzle archaeologists. At some point, the builders intentionally buried many of the structures. They filled the enclosures with soil, stone, and debris. This wasn't the result of natural disaster. It appears deliberately. The same people who invested tremendous effort constructing the monuments later invested tremendous effort covering it up. Why? No one knows. Some believe it was a part of a ritual cycle, and others think changing beliefs made the site obsolete. Whatever the reason, this decision accidentally preserved Göbekli for thousands of years. Without the burial, much of the evidence might have disappeared forever. Today, only a small portion of site has been excavated, and researchers estimate that much remains hidden beneath the ground. Every new excavation raises fresh questions. Every discovery challenges old assumptions, and every answer seems to reveal an even greater mystery. That is why Göbekli matters. Not because it gave us all the answer, but because it reminds us how much we still don't know. The origins of civilization are not as simple as we once believed. Human beings were capable of extraordinary achievements long before the rise of cities, kings, and empires. 12,000 years ago, on a hilltop overlooking the landscape of ancient Anatolia, people gathered and created something remarkable. A monument, a mystery, a message from a distant past, and thousands of years later, it continues to change the way we understand ourselves. Because Göbekli Tepe didn't just rewrite history, it forced us to ask whether we ever truly understood it in the first place.